Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Sagittarius energy. And we're going to get out these cards and we'll get out some cards from the Intuit deck to see what it wants to add. And at the end, we're going to ask what could be something coming up in the future that people might not see coming, depending on if they harness a more high vibrational Sagittarius energy or a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy. We've all got our dualistic nature of free will. We have to make decisions in our life. You know, we've got lessons to learn to be a more just and fair and loving person, to treat other people the way we like to be treated, to have freed ourselves from our more immature, worldly nature that can, you know, manipulate us. And not everybody harnesses high vibe Sagittarius energy. Some people do keep indulging their more immature, prideful, egotistical, self-centered, lustful, lazy, defensive nature, you know. And we just need to see the truth. We all tap into Sagittarius energy. So what drives and motivates you? What drives and motivates some other people in your life? How emotionally mature are they or defensive are they? And the truth sets us free. We just need to be in relationships with people who are kind of more on the same page as us, to have a more involved relationship with them. We can be friends with all sorts of people, but, you know, the people we're going to invest most of our time, energy, and effort into, we probably want to hang out with people like ourselves. And that's why some people might not be hanging out with you, because you're not in the same energy that they are. And they might know that. So, the Intuit cards, we have relocation, which I kind of view as a Sagittarius energy, like the Eight of Wands. And even a desire to grow and heal and mature yourself, since Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. And then we have the sadness card. Sagittarius is fire sign energy, about being inspired to take action, to deal with those regrets of the past, so we can let them go. Come to a place of peace about them, accept the truth for what it is. People are where they're at, and we take action to deal with the truth of that so that we can move forward. And the reason it came out is because of family. We have the free will to choose kind of which aspect of ourself we align with. And depending on if we align with our more high vibrational nature or our more worldly, immature nature, is probably going to decide who we are in relationship with. And everybody can be kind of sad, because people who are more about themselves or the world or immature or whatever, they probably have some people in their life that they would like to keep being in a relationship with, or they let go of being in a relationship with them, because what drives and motivates them is different. And the high vibe people can be sad because there's people in their life that they love and care for, and they wish those people maybe would grow up, be more inspired by love and truth and justice, but it is what it is. High vibe people work through it to free themselves of it, because the truth sets us free. Some other people might take some more immature action because of pain, heartbreak, self-limiting beliefs, and they might keep repeating some old patterns that really don't move them forward. But we either see the truth, and the truth sets us free, or we keep trying something else to make it be the answer, to make us happy, to make things work out, and we're not willing to see the truth. I look at this card as the overarching reason for the reading. There's a time in our life where we've kind of lived a certain phase of life, and it's time to let some of those ways of being go. There's nothing new to learn there. It's stagnant, dead energy. High vibe Scorpio, and with the ending card being like the death card. Oh, I went somewhere today and I have a couple different nail polish colors on. It's about transformation. That we see when a cycle's over, like, I need to quit being immature. I need to quit hanging out with people like this. I need to quit thinking like this. You know, what is stopping me from transforming my life, growing to my full potential, feeling more stable, feeling more independent? I need to work through those things. And high vibe people work through those things to be free, so they can be happy again. But other people, maybe don't. Scorpio is emotional water sign energy. Some people keep ignoring their intuition. Our intuition was given to us as a gift to try to tell us it is time to move on. This phase of your life is over. It's time to like grow up, face your fears. And some people are like, no, no, no. I'd be sad if I didn't keep doing life the way I would do it. This is maybe my coping mechanism. And so then they kind of keep indulging themselves and nothing ever changes. So, what's going on in Sagittarius energy? We have 3 cards not showing itself, and the reason is because of the crossroads, which is Libra energy, the 2 of Swords. You know, we have to make these hard decisions in life. I have to pick a path. I've been going down a path, and some of the people in my life and in my high vibe nature are telling me to listen to my intuition, to love and believe in myself, to face my fears. And then my own shadow nature and other people in my life who might be a more shadowy energy, they're telling me I don't have to do that. Just keep doing life the way I'm doing it. Keep hanging out with the people I'm hanging out with. Keep living life the way I've been doing it. Because I probably have other people in my life that are doing that. And they want me to do that. And some people don't want to pick a path. With this being Libra energy, sometimes in people's Libra energy of themselves, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they were born under, some people have a really hard time making a decision. Some people, well, I want this and I want that. It's like, well, people who have picked a path of like more truth and love and being inspired to face their fears kind of want to hang out with other people who are like that. And, you know, eventually those people are going to move on. And then people who want to live their life a certain way, they could like hanging out with them, but then they could have this conflict, you know. At what time are people going to make a decision? Life's about making decisions. And some people don't want to make a decision. You know, someone could be sad. They could be sad with either choice, but life is about making choices. But some people don't want to make a choice. And some people want the best of both worlds. That can be, well, I like to hang out with the loving, encouraging people because it's great to be around them. And it makes me feel better. And they love and encourage me to love and believe in myself. But then, you know, maybe I'm not getting enough attention. Or they don't indulge me in my poor behavior. Maybe there's these things I like to indulge in or make my life about. And that's really not the primary focus of their life. But it's still kind of a part of me I like to indulge, so then I like to hang out with the people that are more about that. And until they're willing to make a decision, some of those people are going to stay stuck. Other people want to stay in denial of the truth. They could be kind of shadowy, but they don't want to see the truth of it. They don't want other people to see the truth of it. I want to present myself as a high vibe person so other people will be in a relationship with me. I'm going to try to confuse them about the truth of who I am. High vibe people have learned all these life lessons from being with and knowing all these different people, and they're listening to their intuition now. And also, that's a lesson we have to learn, where before, you know, some of the people that are more shadowy or refusing to make a choice, their intuition is probably screaming at them, telling them, this isn't just, this isn't fair, you're being immature, you're being prideful, you're being selfish, blah, blah, blah. And they don't want to listen to it because it would require them to make a choice or a decision, and they don't want to. And so when they don't make decisions, other people listen to their intuition and they make a decision. Well, you can stay stuck if you want, or you can try to confuse someone else about the truth. But I'm listening to my intuition, and my intuition tells me to detach from people in my life who I don't think are being truthful and honest and just and fair. So we can get in relationships with people, and initially we can think, these ways of looking at the world and things that we're motivated and inspired by, we could think that someone else views life the same way we do. That what we kind of think is just and fair is what they think is just and fair. What we're motivated and inspired by, they're motivated and inspired by. But high vibe people are motivated and inspired by truth and love, and justice and fairness and growing and healing, facing their fears, not letting those things manipulate them. But then they can get in relationships with people who they present themselves as being that type of person, but that's not the truth of who they are. And with some people, we end up eventually realizing we harness these energies differently. And when we can meet people and we do have a lot of things in common with them and we can get along in a lot of ways, we just assume that they think kind of the way we think. But they could think, yeah, we do get along in all these ways, and I think you think like I think. And then you find out you don't. The clover, which is Sagittarius energy, seduction, and marriage. Some people are in denial that if you're going to move forward with people in a more committed relationship, such as marriage, that you should be more just and fair and treat other people the way you like to be treated. But that's not how some people view life. Everybody has their idea of what they think is just and fair. And people who might live more from their mind than their heart, Libra is air sign energy of the mind. Some people could think, no, we're looking for people who kind of are inspired by some of the same things we are. And we're trying to find people to move forward with us in a relationship. But some people think it is more about that everybody's maybe trying to manipulate and control other people with the seduction card, because you either see the truth that is about being truthful and honest and authentic and just and fair, or you could think, no, that's what people try to make it like, but everybody's creating an illusion. Some people think. That's not true. I don't even believe in love. I think everybody is looking for people to be in these relationships with that they can maybe get along with, have a lot of things in common. But some people could think that everybody is trying to manipulate other people for more of their own selfish reasons. Well, we can all have our reasons for getting in a relationship. There's a variety of factors. I want stability, security, justice, fairness, but high vibe people, the main driving factor is love. But for some other people, not so much. And as we move forward in a relationship, eventually we kind of find some people, shadowy Sagittarius, just kind of want to indulge himself in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. This is maybe good for my ego and my image. It would look like I have justice in the world. It looks like I manifested all these things that we want in the world. And I take action towards people to get those things of the world that I want. Hopefully I'm attracted to them. Hopefully, there's a lot of commonality. But eventually, if people are more about being indulged, who's going to indulge me the most? If I think it's just and fair to be more about me, I'm kind of seduced by aligning with my mind and making my life more about me. Well, if I indulge myself in my being more about myself, and then can indulge myself in some immature ways of being, I want to move forward with someone else who's going to view life that way and make their life more about me. And some people could think that's what everybody does, but that's not what everybody does. Some people are inspired by love, and they want to be in relationships with other people who are inspired by love. And that's just not how some people view life. So then, fire sign energy, rolling the dice. There's no guarantees in relationships, we do the best that we can. We listen to our intuition to get to know people. Direction is the reason why that card came out. And there's no guarantees in life. You know, we don't know when we take a job, get in a friendship, get in a relationship. It could all be great to start out with, but then fire sign energy can kind of talk about maybe some people haven't put an end to being more motivated and inspired in their fire sign energy by themselves, by their more immature nature or their defensive nature, self-centered nature, or things of the world. And they could have been hiding that they're kind of seduced more by those things of the world or themselves. But they maybe don't want to see the truth of it. They take a risk to get in a relationship with someone. And some of those people take a risk to get in a relationship with someone who might harness more high vibrational Libra energy. Libra is represented by the scales of justice. Someone who believes in love, who has learned to temper their more immature nature. They have decided to hold themselves accountable for their actions and align with their more loving nature. They have rejected harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way. But then people who are like that can get in a relationship with someone else who they think is on the same page as them. For some, they weren't listening to their intuition. For some, they did listen to their intuition, and the people they got in a relationship with presented themselves as being inspired by truth and justice and fairness and love. And, you know, it's always going to be a risk that we take. And we don't know at a given point in time, going down the road of life, when is someone going to start to kind of drive their life off into the ditch? You know, we can't get rid of our shadow nature. It is always there. At the big picture, the devil kind of represents the shadow nature. Those things that manipulate us, tempt us. We have no guarantee in life when people are going to kind of indulge poor behavior in themselves. Are we going to maintain balance within ourselves? I also view Libra energy as the King of Swords. Are we going to stand up for ourselves and say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? You're maybe taking some foolish risks on this journey, and I thought we were doing truth and love, and you seem to be doing something else. And that's when, you know, maybe we could start to realize that maybe they really hadn't detached from aligning with being more about themselves or the things of the world, to be more balanced and disciplined within themselves. And maybe they just create the illusion of being a more emotionally stable, grounded person than we thought they were. And sometimes, you know, then people, the courthouse, can again have to talk about kind of debating within yourself, debating within a relationship. What is the truth? What do you love? Are you more about you and indulging in these things of the world, or making your life more about these things in the world? Or do you have hope and faith and belief in yourself, hope and faith in your dreams, and letting love and intuition guide you? And for the people in our life, you know, we all, when we were younger, we all probably harness these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way because we grow up in the world. And we got a lot of lessons to learn. We got a lot of layers of our old worldly nature to shed. And we can have people in our life that we've known from childhood, and together we're all kind of going through phases of life. Yeah, it's time to quit acting like a 15-year-old. Let's all face our fears to be more like an 18-year-old, and we kind of detach from our more 15-year-old ways of being. And we do that through age 21, age 25, age 30, 35, whatever. You know, it keeps going. And along the way, we can have other people who kind of drop out of our life and we kind of distance ourselves from them because maybe we see that they're kind of still caught up in rolling the dice, taking a chance, and fire energy, it kind of reminds me of the Fool card, where people are still kind of repeating some poor past patterns, maybe not wanting to be held accountable for their actions, not really wanting to do love. I want to indulge in the relationship, but I really don't want to be like more just and fair or have to be held accountable for my actions. And so then we call judgment on some of those people in our life. And, we keep moving on with the people in our life and the new people we meet who we do think are more balanced, stable, grounded, have learned some of the same lessons we've learned, that love means treating other people the way you like to be treated. And some people still don't want to see the truth of that. Because again, they kind of indulge themselves still in kind of a more immature way of being, which can be fine, Say if somebody was 18 and they're not 25, they're going to act kind of more like an 18-year-old, But then we can have people, say you're both 45, and someone is still doing kind of bullshit stuff in a relationship, like people kind of dealt with and went through when they were 25. It's like, really? I dealt with people back when I was 25 who acted like that. And for a long time, they weren't acting like that. So you thought they were this more emotionally self-disciplined person. And then they do something foolish. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I am not going back to putting up with some behaviors that I might have put up with when I was 25 if I'm now 45, And then we call judgment on those people. And that's when some of those people then might feel a little stuck because somebody called judgment on them. And then they're hiding that they were in relationships with some people who were motivated and inspired by love that they could have been attracted to and would like to have been in a relationship with and maybe even stayed in a relationship with, but they took some foolish risk in a relationship that was kind of immature. And, everybody's got to learn some lessons the hard way. And some of those people, because they didn't listen to their intuition and weren't willing to, but the whole thing is when you're in a relationship, you've either learned to maintain balance within myself, don't get caught up in my head and my fears and my insecurities. The best answer is to offer truth and justice and fairness and love, treat other people the way I like to be treated, to work through something, right? But other people really haven't learned that lesson yet. And since they've maybe had other people who've indulged them in some of those poor behaviors, they just thought you would indulge them in those poor behaviors. And maybe back in the day at one point in time you did. But, we're not the same people we were back then. I think we all were expecting we'd hold ourselves to a kind of more higher standard. And apparently you didn't think so, or didn't think it applied to you, or just thought everybody would be willing to go back to like a previous phase of life and indulge them in their poor behavior. And some people said no. And I think when we listen to our intuition and love to guide us, and love is supposed to be just and fair, and when people aren't treating other people the way they like to be treated, aren't being just and fair, I think judgment goes in favor of the people who listen to their intuition, because that's a valuable life lesson. Staying in denial of the truth, hoping maybe things will change and that other people, it's one thing to extend people grace, offer people, we can all forgive people, we can have compassion for people getting up in their head, getting up in their fear, whatever. But they have to be willing to hold themselves accountable for their actions. If they want us to keep like where they don't have to take accountability for it, or they keep repeating it, at some point in time, I think, that's an injustice. And I think the people who let love and intuition guide their decision versus more fear or insecurity or codependency or, oh, but I love them. Well, I've driven my life off the edge of the cliff before because, oh, I love them. You know, we have all the four elements to work with: our heart, our mind, our worldly nature, our creative, inspired, passionate nature. They're all equally important. And we learned these lessons the hard way, where we let our heart run our life and we didn't get the justice we deserved. And we were stuck and confused, and then we might have let our mind run our life. Well, now, I got to be more self-disciplined. I can't let my heart run my life. Now I don't trust people, and now I'm going to be defensive. Well, then our heart runs our life, our mind runs our life, and then, it's not a very emotionally creative, inspired life. And we just go through, learn all these lessons in life if we're willing to take chances, get out of our ego, quit repeating some poor past patterns. I already learned that doesn't work. I need to listen to my intuition. Take a chance because I want justice. And as we learn these lessons, that all four aspects of myself are equally important. And I can love people, and if they're not just and fair, if I can be attracted to people, but might be a little more lust than love. I can get caught up in things of the world and money and stability and status. It needs to be balanced between all four of those things. And it has to be aligned with my truth. I want jobs, friendships, and careers with people who are like being authentic and loving and balanced and stable and grounded and inspiring. And I want to be that type of person in their life. That's when we've kind of looking at the sudden wealth card as the Nine of Pentacles, where high vibe energy is being more independent of our own shadow nature, and realizing that there's people in my life who like me being in my shadow nature because they're kind of to some degree in their own shadow nature of whatever that kind of works. And then, but I'm not being more independent in the world. I'm still letting things manipulate me. I'm hanging out with other people who still let things manipulate them. And I want to know my worth and value and appreciate what I bring to the table and learn these lessons in life to feel more stable and grounded within myself and to feel more balanced within myself. And the truth is, to feel more balanced within ourselves is to get out of our staying in denial of the truth, getting in more looking to things outside of ourselves to make us happy, and realize I need to love me. And when I love me, kind of like being my own best mother, father, coach voice within myself, treating myself with love and compassion and forgiveness for the lessons I've had to learn, offering love and compassion and forgiveness to people in my life who weren't very just and fair or loving. Everybody's where they're at. Everybody has these lessons to learn. Some people still have a lot of lessons to learn. Some people still don't want to hold themselves accountable. Some people will never be a more just, fair, authentic, loving person. I just accept that everybody's on this journey of learning lessons in life. And we're all kind of in different phases of learning these lessons. And if we're even inspired to learn some of those lessons. And I've learned to love myself. So you're truly abundant in a lot of ways. Because you're less manipulated by your more immature, shadowy, past pain and heartbreak nature. You've learned to feel more stable and grounded and abundant within yourself and put in work and effort to heal and grow and mature yourself, to be a just and fair and loving person with self-discipline, to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And then we have the ship, Aries, fire sign energy. I have a dream. And I realized at some point in my life that if I didn't do this work within myself, I was going to keep kind of being manipulated by the past and past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs. And I want, in my free will, to choose to be happy. Well, I need to align with that within myself. And then to be balanced, I offer love and compassion and forgiveness to my more immature, shadowy nature. I have this dualistic nature within me. I have to acknowledge that. And I'm not going to let my more immature, shadowy nature be in the driver's seat of my life. My more loving nature is going to be in the driver's seat, and my shadow nature is going to be in the back seat. I have a dream. And life's about a journey and learning these lessons. And I need to reconcile myself with some things of the past. And I can have hope for some people, and I can have love for people. But I'm going to take action. Masculine energy can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and taking action in the world. To detach from the past, more immature ways of being, and in my fire sign energy, and this would be like my Virgo energy, my dream is to keep growing and healing and maturing myself and shedding old layers of myself to grow to my full potential, and wanting to be, when I go present myself in the world, I want that to be a true reflection of who I really am. Not trying to confuse people about the truth of who I am. I want to be comfortable within myself, being authentically myself in the world. And high vibe people are motivated and inspired. Scorpio energy is about exploring the mysteries of life emotionally. And we're emotionally complex human beings. And I want to be in deep, meaningful relationships. I don't want to be in more immature relationships. I'm going to learn these lessons. There is going to be people I have met, people I will meet, that will tempt me to want to stay in denial of the truth. And if I do that, I can. The Justice card, just kind of like the Judgment card, you'll reap what you sow. If you're kind of in shadowy energy, say you were to get in a relationship with a narcissist, does that mean you reaped what you sowed, that you were a narcissist? No, but you opened up the door to shadow, and you can't stop what comes through the door. When you take more action out of these things you want to go invest in the world, because over here we have the snowflake at the end, which is Aquarius energy, also represented by the star card. I have a dream. Well, yes, we have these things of the world that we view as being very abundant in our life, that we want, that we think will make us happy, but we have to listen to our intuition. And it has to be just and fair, and it has to be based on love. If we take action more out of fear, insecurity, immaturity, codependency, we're opening up the door for shadowy people to come into our life, and who knows what kind of shadowy traits and characteristics they have if we're not listening to our intuition. That is a risk we are taking. To have the best possible outcome, we keep making decisions, maintaining balance within ourselves, so we're not indulging poor behavior in ourselves and others, out of love for ourselves, belief in our dreams, knowing our worth and value, being inspired to not want to repeat those old patterns. And I'm going to keep taking action to keep transforming my life to not repeat some old patterns and keep focused on my dreams. And then when we're investing our time, energy, and effort into people who seem to be on that same page as us, and we've seen the truth of who is not, and we're not investing more time and energy and effort into them, then it opens the door for people who are more on the same page as us to be open to them coming into our life if they're not in our life already. Because sometimes some of the people in our life are just other people, and we're already in a relationship. You know, we can all have other people in our life, just like some of the people we want to be in a relationship with have other people in their life. We can all have people in our life who don't want us to move forward with the loving, supportive, encouraging people in our life. And then they can try to manipulate us based on the love that we have for them. And some people in our life might, they can have other relationships in their life. Some of them are married to people. And you could be a friend And if the people that they're married to are like, I don't really like you hanging out with that person. I don't like, well, they might not tell them that, but they might tell them, I don't like that that person is more just and fair and balanced and independent. I don't want you to want a more just and fair and balanced and be more independent. They can have friends and family members in their life that, well, I don't want you to move forward and invest time and energy in those people, because I think if you do, you're going to shed like an old layer of yourself and how you used to view life, which is kind of how I view life, that I think is just and fair. But if you were to go manifest your dreams into reality, and it seems like you freed yourself from whatever still used to manipulate both of us, or just the way we viewed life and things we used to go indulge in and things we used to go make important in our life. Well, if you go manifest the life of your dreams, well, then I could feel a little stuck about how I'm living my life, and I don't even want to deal with that. So how about I try to get you to end hanging out with those people? Maybe I'll try to use the love that I have for you, even if I'm just your sibling or your friend. I think you're taking a risk if you move forward with those people. I don't, those people aren't like us, and I think one day they'll probably end the relationship with you. They might look like a shining star. I don't know. Do you really think you're really on the same page as them? I think they might go get in a relationship with someone else eventually. We can have people in our life who try to get us to not listen to our intuition, believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams, believe in love. And we could have known some people who have some people like that in their life. And sadly, maybe because they don't really have, not very independent, not used to letting love and intuition guide them, or to be more independent of those people, or afraid if they move forward more independently living their authentic life, that maybe some of those people kind of would not be as involved in their life, and they could be codependent on those people for being their primary foundation in their life, and instead of kind of standing up for themselves and saying, I have the right to live my life. And, I think my love and intuition tells me, and I might be wrong, but I'm willing to take that chance, and love and intuition is kind of the guiding factor. And I feel like you're kind of manipulating me. And I think you're trying to instill fear and insecurity in me. Or I feel like it's more of a romantic interest, I think you're trying to tempt me in my more lustful, worldly nature. And some of those people gave into it. And, they rolled the dice, made a decision that they think is best for them. And, everybody has to deal with the consequences of their actions. And if they're willing to learn lessons from those life experiences, because the one pentacle can mean that we kind of went within to deal with the truth. But some people always put an end to that. No. I took a risk. I might have faced some consequences for it, but I'm unwilling to learn the lesson. That could be people that kind of are too prideful and egotistical to admit they made mistakes. So then they keep wanting to stay in denial. It wasn't my fault. I didn't, it wasn't because of me. It's always can be people who always want to blame other people. They might not want to see the truth. They might not want to see the truth about themselves or other people. No. I'm perfect. I don't make mistakes. Or I have this certain status and image in the world. I'll just go find someone else to go get in a relationship with, or I'll just go get a new job. But if they haven't learned the lessons they were meant to learn, they're kind of going to be the same person at the next job, the next friendship, the next romantic relationship. They're just hoping this time it'll turn out the way they want it. But some of these people just don't get it. You know, some people, the death card can be that some people are afraid of change. I don't want to change. I don't want. Aquarius is looking at life from a higher perspective, keeping things in perspective, getting out of their ego. And some people are like, no, I don't want to harness high vibe Aquarius energy. I harness a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. I think I can just keep moving forward like this. I might have things of the world. I might not have substance, character, integrity, might have a lot of lessons I haven't learned in life, but I could have other things of the world. I could have status, image, a lot of ways about the world that looks like I have justice in the world. I think there's going to be other people who want to get in a relationship with me. I'm just going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep repeating this old pattern, hoping I maybe find someone who is kind of more aligned with maybe too loving of a nature in a way, where they do indulge people in poor behavior and they're kind of not balanced within themselves to really stand up for their more loving nature. I'll go try to find another loving person that kind of really isn't more balanced within themselves. Someone who doesn't know the truth of who I am. I'm going to hide kind of some of the immature behaviors and risks I took in a previous relationship. And so long as they don't know the truth about me, and they view me as this type of person who looks like my ships are coming in, and that I'm this stable, grounded, loving person, I'll go repeat this pattern with that person until that ends. And then when that ends, I'll go try to repeat it with someone else. And that's what some people do. They are unwilling to get out of their ego to... The truth would set them free. Some of these people got a lot of sadness. They just move on to another job, another relationship. Hiding the truth from themselves, from others. Some people, the Scorpio death card, well, just Scorpio energy itself, can be people who are more emotionally shallow and superficial. And they're looking to look like a shining star in the world. And it can be getting in one relationship, as long as it's good for their status and their ego and image. But then if someone else comes along that might have experienced an ending in a relationship, who's single, who looks like their ship of dreams have come in, that they think it's just and fair to end the relationship they are in to go get in a relationship with someone else, because it's really just more about them anyway, and their status and their ego and their image. If they were in relationships with loving, creative, inspired, passionate people, but those people are more just and fair and balanced, and they want this person to kind of detach and become more independent. No, I'm going to go start over with someone new, and then I can be in a relationship with them for quite a long time. And if at some future date they kind of realize these things that kind of manipulate me, or kind of see through the facade and kind of see I just kind of indulge myself in relationships and don't really emotionally invest, I am more superficial and shallow, but I could use my emotions and my sexuality and my charm or my charisma and my looks and my money and all these things to make people think I'm willing to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship than I really am, until they see the truth of it. As long as it's good for my ego and my image, I'll indulge in the relationship for as long as it lasts. And then when it ends, I will try to confuse people about the truth of why that relationship didn't work. Some people, because they don't listen to their intuition and these things manipulate them, they could take some foolish risks in a relationship. They might want to stay in the relationship, but they don't look at life from a higher perspective, and then they can get all caught up in their head and their fears and their insecurities, and then they sabotage the relationship because it could be trying to intimidate and control people, because you're either being truthful and honest and just and fair, or you're trying to manipulate people or kind of intimidate and control people. And that can be shadowy Scorpio. I'm going to try to intimidate and control you. And for some people, it's like, I really don't plan to bring the dream into reality that you might think I'm going to bring into reality. If you're motivated and inspired by love, yeah, I don't believe in love. It's kind of more, so long as it works for me and these things, and you kind of don't kind of indulge me in my poor behavior, I'll stay in a relationship with you. If during the course of the relationship, you could grow and heal and mature yourself and get more balance, that you're not the same person you could have been when we got in the relationship. Now you've become more independent. You are kind of more inspired to move forward in life differently. You have changed. Well, now I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore, because I liked it when you were in a different energy. Maybe before you were more balanced within yourself. Maybe before you did have more hope and faith and belief in yourself. Maybe before you lived more from your mind than your heart too. But now you could look at life from a different perspective. You could be balanced more between your emotional nature, and maybe before you were more indulgent of people in relationships, and it didn't require them to be as just and fair and balanced, because you could be, in high vibe Scorpio, a very loving, giving, nurturing person, but you had to learn that love is supposed to be just and fair, and I can give, because my cup of love kind of overflows. But I also like to be in relationships with people who are like that fill my cup emotionally. And then you can kind of realize you kind of got in a relationship with someone. There might be attraction there. There might be a lot of good things about the relationship, but you kind of feel like it's more superficial and shallow. And it's like, I feel like I'm going to miss out on an opportunity for a more deep, meaningful relationship. And then, if during the course of that relationship you did this work within yourself, and then someone's kind of trying to intimidate and control you, and they take a risk to repeat some poor past patterns to stop you from putting in this work to transform yourself, to make you more emotionally focused back on them, and making it maybe more about them. But you have your own dreams, and you have your own unique talent, skills, and interests, and sometimes we don't even know what some of those things that kind of like, wow, I think I'd like to go into a career of this, or start doing this, because you don't even sometimes realize things that kind of are aligned with your truth or your unique talent, skills, and interest. You got to live some life to even find out. Like I remember when I was kind of got into doing landscaping and flowers and all this stuff, and it's like, wow, I would have never thought, but if I lived in a bigger town, I wouldn't mind, and I was, depending on where I was in my life, that I would like to work at maybe a greenhouse or a garden center. If I was able to go back to school, maybe to do landscape design or something, just all these things that we don't even know we like and enjoy and kind of have a knack for until we've lived more life, But then when you are maybe being kind of more independent, inspired by your own dreams, then some people don't like it because they liked it when you just kind of made it more about their dreams. And that's how some people view life. I do want it, and I think it's just and fair for it to be more about me. And I'm looking for someone who doesn't have their own dreams and aspirations, who will make their life more about me. Well, that's somebody who's not willing to work with you cooperatively and see that you're your own unique individual with your own dreams and aspirations. And why wouldn't they want you if it makes, it feels like you kind of growing to your full potential? Why don't they like that, So Some high vibe people detach from their more immature ways of being. They detach from some other people in their life that were more immature. And that's also why some people won't move forward with you. Could they like to move forward with you? Yes. But they would have to become more independent and be willing to detach from the people in their life that kind of represent their more shadowy nature, to become more independent of those people. And it doesn't have to be a person, it can just be the world. Well, I kind of define my worth and value based on what I wear and what I drive and how I think other people view me. Well, are you willing to become independent of that? No. They'd have to be inspired to even want to quit being tipped out of balance, indulging poor behavior in themselves, indulging poor behaviors in others, being more tipped into their more worldly nature. And some people aren't even inspired to do that. I think the way I'm moving forward is just fine. And it is. Everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want. There will just be consequences for the decisions they make in their life. But if some people aren't inspired to be more just and fair and balanced, or detach from some more immature ways of being, or other shadowy ways of being, or ways of viewing relationships, there's going to be some other people who are going to not stay in relationships with them. And some of those people right now might have some people ending a relationship with them. And the people who might keep staying in a relationship with them could just be people who view life that same way, kind of on that same emotional maturity level. Again, once you become adults, you're all out in the adult world, but we can have a big cluster of 45-year-olds, but some of them have the emotional maturity of like a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 21-year-old, or a 25-year-old. And they'll need to find some people who are kind of more on that same emotional wavelength, And some other people realize they weren't on the same wavelength. What kind of drives and motivates you, and what you think is just and fair isn't how I want to. But, you have the free will to go live your life whatever way you want. I have seen the difference. We're not on the same page, and maybe just at an emotional level, we're not the same. Kind of what drives and motivates us. And I am willing to take action to detach. And initially we can detach, but Scorpio talks about those emotionally complex feelings we have. And then it can take time of working through this within ourselves. And then we're really ready to emotionally detach, to take action to bring our dream into reality. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius that they might not see coming? The Five of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands. The Five of Pentacles is detaching from the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles was a foundation or a way of viewing life or living life that we had been holding on to, that we didn't want to let go of. But then we saw the truth. Why? Because we could harness our Leo energy differently. And that can be that some people are still more driven and motivated by themselves or these things of the world. And other people in their Leo energy, which is fire sign energy, they're kind of, there's some pattern of way of living life or viewing life or behaving in workplaces, friendships, or relationships. There's some people, it's like, I've been there and I've done that, and I don't want to repeat that pattern anymore. And I'm ready to move forward in life differently. And it could be just being more authentically yourself. It could be that Leo energy, also represented by the sun. Maybe you've just learned how to be more balanced within yourself, love yourself. Maybe before you were with and hanging out with other people who really were being maybe more authentically themselves, or hadn't learned to love themselves to whatever degree. That kind of, high vibe energy is about being independent and shining your authentic light, and also believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. And we can all have been in energy to whatever degree, and whichever one it was that could have been kind of more manipulating us. And And it's like, I'm not willing to do that anymore. I did this work within myself to free myself from things that manipulated me. And I'm not the same person I was before. And so I don't, there's certain ways of looking at life, living life, behaving that just don't interest me anymore, you know? I'm inspired to go pursue my dreams. And, we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is, what our truth isn't. With taking the action in the masculine card, it could mean that you are willing to stand up for your truth and speak your truth. And some other people just aren't willing to do that, either with themselves or with others. And, it's all a process of becoming. And so we hope and wish everybody to be more free of what manipulates them. Until they do, we keep moving forward kind of in the energy of love. But if people want to be in a relationship with me, it's no more about the ego or the image or indulging someone. It has to be just and fair and authentic and loving. And that's who you're looking for. And I think as you move forward in that energy, there will be other people that will see the truth of who you are and see that you're someone they can have that type of relationship with that are going to want to move forward with you. You're both on the same page. What's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming? The Three of Pentacles and the Death. Why? Because of the Knight of Wands, which is Sagittarius energy. When we kind of plant bad seeds and we have some lessons to learn, just like when we were living life as a 15-year-old, did that turn out to be the great abundant life we were dreaming of? No, because we got some lessons to learn. At 18, was it great for the moment it was and the life that it was? Yeah. Did we want for more? Yeah, because we'd all like to maybe be out in the world, feel capable, be able to be self-sufficient, know how to live on our own, all those good things, right? Some people keep thinking, though, that they don't have to change. Could be a little full of themselves. And because they have these things of the world, they could think everything's going to turn out the way they want. And I think some of the things that they're working on aren't going to turn out the way they want with the Death card. Why? Because they still have some growing up and maturing to do. And they're not willing to put an end to their more immature Sagittarius energy. Shadowy Knight of Wands can be someone who's like an immature player or just immature. Or more motivated to go indulge in these things of the world or make their life more about themselves or indulging themselves in the world or money or materialism and status and image. And other people see the truth of it, and other people don't want to keep staying in relationships with them. And until they're willing to see the truth of how this manipulates them in a shadowy way, they're going to keep moving forward like this. And it could be, I don't ever want to change. I want to be immature. I want to be indulged. I want it to be more about me. I'm going to keep pursuing ego, image, money, materialism, or what I indulge in to make me feel better. And they might end up looking successful in the world. It's just not based on love. Could be being in relationships with other people who are motivated by those things, or other people who are still kind of immature. And that's fine. It would be like a just and fair relationship. If they can find other people who don't want to be more emotionally mature, don't want to detach from their more worldly view of life, that would be a just and fair relationship. They just didn't learn the lessons in life to kind of grow to their full potential like some other people did. They had that potential, but they maybe weren't interested to learn those lessons. So that's fine. Got all different types of folks in the world, but they need to be in a relationship with someone who's kind of on the same page as them. It's an injustice for someone who knows they're not motivated by love, don't want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships, are kind of more about ego or image or indulgence. They should go be in relationships with other people who are more motivated and inspired by that. Also, when we align with our shadow nature, it can be our more harsh, critical self. They might get themselves in a relationship with someone who sometimes some people need a much more kind of controlling person in their life. And they might get in a relationship with someone who is very controlling of them. You're not going anywhere. You know, I do want this relationship. This is good for me and my ego and my image. And, some people don't mind kind of playing that role in people's lives. And some of those kinds of people are looking just for someone like that. I know that's not my way of being. I don't want to be like someone's parent or their disciplinarian. I want someone that I have equal give and take with and a more loving. I don't want to have to be someone's handler in a way. But because they weren't willing to learn lessons, I think they'll either be in relationships with people who are more like themselves, or they'll be in a relationship with someone maybe because those people have those things of the world that they want. And if that person says, you are towing the line or I'll leave, loving people could have told them that too, but love isn't what really drives and motivates them. This is the Three of Pentacles, which is Capricorn energy, things of the world. And so if there's someone who has those things of the world that they really want, they might be willing to kind of temper their more immature nature. But that isn't really how they like to live their life, but they might do it just for those things of the world. People got to be what drives and motivates people. And then they could end up sad because, again, they're not living their authentic life because they let all these things manipulate them. Go live your authentic life. If you want to be immature, bossy, controlling, egotistical, go live it. But you should be truthful with people. Oh, I kind of like it my way. Or I'm kind of bossy. Or I'm a little bit controlling. Or I'm kind of immature. Let people know what they're dealing with instead of trying to manipulate people. And you'd maybe find some people that are like, I don't care. Works for me. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.